So I want to explore how, and this is going to be quite counterintuitive to some people, but one of the reasons I mentioned in an earlier video, either the intro or the first one, that we really need to park everything we know about cybersecurity. We need to just put it in the bin and start fresh. And I mentioned the concept of quality, but I'm not even going to start with quality. I'm going to start with something else. The reason I want to put this here is this video is about the fact that indirectly, the security industry or approach that we have today is actually making things worse. And that's a very important reason why we need to stop doing this and identify and fix the real problem. Imagine you had a car that you got, 400 miles, let's say 400 miles of range on a tank. And you drove this car for many years, and for a long time, this was fine. This happened. And then at some point, you start noticing your mileage is decreasing. Your range is decreasing. You're getting 350, 300 miles to a tank. You're not hitting that 400 number anymore. And you were having to put petrol in more often. You're spending a bit more money on petrol. But other than that, it's all right. It's not the end of the world. You haven't taken it in to really get it assessed, get some major repairs done or anything, because right now it's just a little bit of extra petrol. But you get used to this. You get used to doing this. You get used to filling up a little bit more often. You're filling up once every couple of weeks, and then it's once every 12 days, and then it's once every 10 days. Like, it doesn't make a difference, and it just kind of becomes normal. Like inflation. It just becomes a normal thing. And it's costing you more and more money, but whatever. But at some point, it's no longer 300. It's going down to 250, 200, 150 miles, 100 miles. And now it's getting quite expensive. So expensive, in fact, that I can no longer afford to take it to the garage because I'm spending way too much on petrol. I don't have any savings left to get the car serviced. But then at some point, you're actually reaching a point where, hey, my range is now 50 miles. I can't even make a trip anymore. Like, it's not just a question of additional cost now. Like, I've lost the ability. Like, this vehicle is no longer able to do what it needs to do. We need to do something. And then this entire industry props up about how we can fuel cars faster, how we can deal with the traffic at the pumps, how we can maybe fuel you on the go. Another car pulls up alongside you and fuels you. And we just developed this entire industry around fuel delivery to keep you going. Wouldn't that be weird? Like, you have a problem with your car, and it's causing these symptoms of poor mileage. But we're developing this entire industry around keeping you going despite the symptoms. And the more we do this, the more we normalize the fact that this is how cars operate. But they don't. They shouldn't have these issues. But the more we normalize and the more we make security about mitigating these issues rather than addressing the underlying issue, we're not just not fixing the issue, but we're actually taking attention and, I think more importantly, resource away from the problem. And we've actually reached a point where we are spending so much money on security that if you were to actually spend, a fifth or a tenth of that amount of money on actually addressing the quality, the process, or whatever other underlying issues you have that are resulting in you having these defects, these gaps, these deficiencies, these items of technical debt, whatever it may be, if we actually put that resource towards the root causes, we could fix them permanently for a fraction of the price. But instead, we are distracting from that and spending all that money on security. In fact, we're spending even more of it on cybersecurity, handling the symptoms, which is bad enough for business. But the really, really damaging thing is actually that we are taking the attention and the resource away from the actual solution, away from ascertaining the real problem and devising a solution that would actually fix it. And this is the reason why we really, really need to free ourselves of the current status quo in cybersecurity if we're going to reach outcomes. So I just want people to get comfortable with that idea that what we are doing today is not working. And I wish people could hear this very early on in their careers before they get attached to doing things a certain way, because it becomes very painful afterwards to get them to change. There's a lot of that cognitive dissonance, defensiveness, but my job is to do this thing. I feel threatened now. It's problematic. And as a consultant who now aims primarily at fixing business problems, so you have fewer security ones, the security audience is no longer my clientele, or it's very, very rare. In fact, usually when organizations like what I do and refer me to their security teams, their CISO, I mark that opportunity as lost, because it's so unlikely that they are going to be willing to kind of change the way they do, because they've got so much vested interest in it. However, the actual business leaders, CEOs, COOs, CFOs, they really like the idea of actually fixing a problem and getting a lot of cost savings out of it. So think about that and accept that, and then we can start looking at how we actually fix the problem. See you next time.